Welcome to the first episode. I'm so excited to chat with you. Today is going to be all about me and my journey. I'm going to really try to focus on sharing three things with you: where I started, how I landed in Columbus. I get that question all the time since I'm not a native to Columbus, Ohio. And then where I'm at now and what's going on in my world. So let me fill you in on like where I started. A little background for me before I got into real estate. I actually grew up in Dallas, Texas. I was raised there and stayed in Dallas until I left for college. And when I went to school, I went to the University of Michigan. Little known fact, I was a D1 athlete. I was a swimmer and was an All-American and captain of our team way back in the day. It was feels like eons ago. But after Michigan, I ended up taking a job in Chicago, and that was the beginning of my life in the ad agency world, which I absolutely loved. I was really obsessed with brands and advertising, I feel like my whole life. So when I was in Chicago, I just felt like I don't know, it was like my Kool-Aid. So anyway, I did that for a while. And then I ended up moving to Columbus in 2002. So you might wonder, why did you move to Columbus? The short version is I followed a boy and that blew up upon arrival. So I told myself at that moment, the economy wasn't great in 2002. And I had landed a good gig in Columbus. So I said, give it a year. Like everything, it might not be perfect at first, but give it a year, spread your wings, grow up a little bit. I literally knew no one. I mean, the only person I knew broke up with me. So I had to start from scratch. And honestly, looking back on it, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because I finally had to ask myself the questions like, what do I like to do in my spare time? And I don't know that I had ever done that, being an athlete and then just going straight into a really intense job. It was just, you just kind of did what you were supposed to do and just kept doing that on a hamster wheel. So anyway, I ended up at my job. I ended up meeting in 2003. I met my now husband. We're almost celebrating our 20th anniversary. We have two teenage boys, and we have our third boy is our golden doodle named Waylon. So it's just crazy how life kind of it just happened, and I had to learn. I was always a planner, and I just had to learn how to really let it happen. But Columbus is definitely home. Can't believe I've been here over 20 years, and I can't imagine being anyplace else. What I'm up to now, I mean, I feel like my journey, I get this a lot from people in real estate, like, how did you jump into real estate? And the reality is, I kind of had a windy entry into real estate because of my advertising career. For me, it was really like my second career. And I've realized how beneficial advertising was at the beginning of my career in real estate. They have finally really meshed in a cool way. But essentially, what I do every day is very similar to what I did in real estate because it's all about client service. My job in real estate was account service, client service. And that's how I approach real estate because it's all about my clients. And it's all about giving them the service they deserve. And hopefully it's an enjoyable process, even though it can get bumpy and stressful because it is a huge deal if you're buying or selling a home. But from my jump in Columbus, I interviewed with a real estate developer back in 2004. And literally in my interview, it was a very casual interview over lunch. I said, if you're looking for a real estate agent, I'm definitely not your person, which I still laugh about 20 years later. But at the time, I don't know that I knew what it meant to be a real estate agent. And I think I just maybe didn't have the best connotation of it in my mind. It just was something I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And now I can't picture myself doing anything else. But he ended up hiring me and I worked it was the Buggy Works project in downtown Columbus in the Arena District. And there were four of us and I had to wear a lot of different hats. And it was one of the best jobs I ever took in my whole career. But I was his director of marketing and sales and I learned so much. Anything from like reading blueprints. Like I literally had to understand how to read blueprints and not just the floor plan, like the electrical ones, the plumbing ones, even the sprinkler systems. Like I had to know all of that. I would sit in subcontractor meetings, which now, if you've ever done a construction project or a new build, knowing how the whole process works and how important the relationship is with the builder or the developer and all the subcontractors, that's the difference between something really great and something that could be just a complete disaster. So anyway, it was a gift to get that job. I also learned a ton about Columbus because Kyle Katz was my boss and he really like brought me in under his wing. I went to so many meetings. It was either commission meetings where things were getting approved or not approved, which was really interesting to understand maybe why the downtown Columbus Commission would approve something or wouldn't approve something. So really cool learning. You also started to understand why things might take a while in Columbus, which is there's a lot of layers to that, but it's really easy to jump to assumptions, but there's a lot involved. And I got to go to meetings like Columbus Metropolitan Club, which is such a cool organization, and just really, really great conversations with community leaders on any different topic. So those things were all, I look back on that with such joy because it was probably one of the hardest things I've done. But as it goes, I feel like when you're doing something really hard, you're learning a lot, and I think you're really engaged. So it was a great gig. So I jumped into real estate then, went back into advertising for a couple years. Then another developer contacted me in 2008. And so I started selling that project. And then, of course, the recession happened. So navigating that, I had my first child and then also went into real estate first full time, which maybe sounds crazy, but I think it was a really good way for me to enter into being a working mom and trying to make the adjustments that I needed to. I knew I wanted to work. I just needed to figure out how I wanted to work. And, I think real estate, although you're working a lot and you're working hours that you probably didn't work in more of a corporate job, it's I don't know, you can kind of kick it into fifth gear when you need to, and you can shift down when you need to. And I've loved that about this whole career, because you've got different seasons in life when your kids are babies, and then when you have teenagers, it's very different. So so that's a little bit of like my, the windy road for me getting into real estate. I do think for me, in terms of what's going on for me now, probably one of the biggest things is, I would say it's something that I love, and it's also something that I think creates success for me in what I'm doing, is community, and just the notion of what community means to me. I feel like over the course of, the 15 plus years I've been in real estate, my clients are not just clients. They've really become, I want to say friends, but I feel like I am super interested in what they're doing. And I love when I can understand their world and maybe bring them into a community where they're meeting other people that are also maybe past clients of mine. Because these connections and being that connector, you never know what's going to happen, but sometimes you can just be the person to make that introduction, and like magic can happen. So I have really loved creating my own community, but getting involved in the community has been instrumental. So I have a few passions and causes that are dear to my heart, and I have found a way to really bring those into my life in a way where it's created balance, and it's created, I think, a lot of impact. I feel like at this point in my career, I am more interested in impact than maybe I am about like a sales award, right? I mean, I love what I do, but you get to a phase in life where you just want to know that what you're doing actually matters. So I do get that out of real estate, but on the daily, I just wanted to get more immersed in something where I felt like I was truly making an impact. So two really big places where I spend my time. One is I got back into coaching for swimming. So I have started working with the Upper Arlington high school girls team. I'm going into my 5th year of coaching there. They are such an awesome group of girls. And in many ways, I think they have brought joy back to the sport to me. So they always thank me for doing what I'm doing, but I always say it right back to them because, when you're a competitive athlete at that D1 level, it doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go. And at the end of my college career, I would say I wasn't super thrilled. And I probably hung on to that anger for too long, but these girls have like washed that all away. They've helped me find the love for the sport again, and being with them and seeing them succeed is, oh my gosh, it's worth every minute. So that's a huge thing that I spend time in the winter. And then, finding causes that are important. I think, I'll share a story. I have really gotten attached to the Callahan Murphy Hair Foundation, which is all about awareness, raising awareness and funds for pediatric cancer research. Kate Hare is the founder, and the first conversation I had with her, I was blown away by like her courage and her strength. She started this foundation while she was navigating her son being diagnosed as an infant with leukemia. And so Callahan's thriving, he's doing great, but I just continue to like walk with Kate and try to help her however I can. We host an annual event together. And I never want to let go of that because I feel like sometimes when you think about causes and really getting involved in something, you feel like it has to be these grandiose, giant actions or like a giant check. And what I've learned is it's not really about that. Those things are great. But Kate has just taught me that it's the energy, it's the time, it's the thought, it's the money, it's the creativity. All of that matters to these organizations for them to continue to run and operate. And so she's just been awesome. She's a neighbor, she's a friend, and that's just a cause that, I hold close to my heart. So those are two areas for me that are just examples of community. But for like I said, my clients have really become that community. I feel like they start to know each other and they're creating a community within the community. And so for me, those relationships, I mean, it really is everything. I often get the question like, why Columbus? How did you land in Columbus? And really for me, like I shared, I thought I'd be here a year and I stayed for a really long time and I can't really see myself being somewhere else. I think immediately, probably one of the differences I noticed about this city and the thing I love is the support of the independent. It is truly what makes Columbus unique. I feel like the entrepreneurial spirit is alive in our town and it's really celebrated. And those are the stories I want to share with you because I do think it can get really easy for everything to feel like chain or manufactured. And Columbus is just, they celebrate the unique and the authentic. And I live for that. I get the question a lot, what do I love most about helping people through real estate? For me, when you break it down, it's all about the relationship. I get to walk alongside usually somebody's really biggest moments in their life. So it could be, maybe they're getting married and they need more space, or they're having children and they need more space, or their kids just left the nest and they need less space. These are huge monumental moments in someone's timeline of life, and they bring me in. And so I don't take that lightly because it can be emotional. Sometimes it can be really celebratory and sometimes it can be sad. And you just have to be on that ride for all of it. But there's a level of trust that I feel like I get with my clients and I share it with my clients. And it's this bond that is created. And so when we're done with the deal, I just am like, we're not breaking up. Because I hate that we spend a lot of time together and then you feel like, oh my gosh, did we just break up? But I never want to break up because, I cherish and respect the fact that they let me in. Right. And so, we'll do fun events and stay in touch throughout the years because it's important to me. And I feel like my clients, they've earned that because they've trusted me. So I feel like I've said the word connection a lot, but really relationships and connection, it's essential to me and what I do. Um, at the end of the day, when I'm maybe not doing real estate anymore, what is important to me? It's the people. It's the people that I've met, it's the people I've worked with, it's my colleagues, it's my competition, it's all of that. And I think if you can approach that in a way where it's collaborative and it's inviting, I just feel like you attract the right people and your tribe really does become your vibe. And so that's what I hang on to. That's what I try to continue to create. And hopefully I'm remembered for that kind of stuff. It's funny because starting this podcast, it's really my way of opening the door just a little bit wider because I feel like I want to share insights and stories and all these conversations that go way beyond a real estate transaction. And I really just hope that this becomes a creative space. I need a creative space. Hopefully you need it. Maybe you're listening to this as you're walking right now. I mean, I always know that I need that escape, but it's all about deepening a relationship and making that connection and making you feel part of a community, and not really just with me, but with anyone that tunes in. So hopefully this is that bridge that helps create that world for you too. All right. We're going to end every podcast with a quick fire round. So I have to do the quick fire round myself, which is a little bit cheating because I see the questions ahead of time. But I just love like the quick answers. So what comes to mind first? So here are my answers to these questions. First question, favorite restaurant right now? I would say the Avenue in Grandview. I feel like sitting at the bar in the Avenue at Grandview is what we really like love if we can just escape for a little date night. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Go-to coffee order, Americano hot with extra cream every time. I can't do the iced one. I don't know why. Even when it's hot, I get a hot Americano. Maybe that's I mean, I have never been to Italy, but I need to. Um, a book you'd recommend to everyone. One of my favorites, nonfiction. It's Unreasonable Hospitality. It is essential for what I do. It talks about how you just create experiences for people in your business. I highly recommend it. Will Giarda. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name right, but it's a good one. Pick it up. A travel destination on your bucket list. This recently came up in a conversation. Italy, okay, Italy for sure. But we love going west as a family. We love skiing, and we always go to Colorado. But I am definitely wanting to do Wyoming. I feel like a western, like Wyoming or Montana trip would be super fun in winter or summer. So hopefully my husband's listening to this and he'll start the plan. All right. And what is one small moment that recently brought you joy? I feel like I don't want to get choked up, but last night I was walking, both of my kids play competitive golf, and somebody paid my eighth grade boy the nicest compliment. And I was just like beaming as his mom. They just said he's like so nice and kind to the the boys he competes with, but also the girls. And they said that's not always the case. And I was like, oh my gosh. So props to you, Graham. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, new episodes drop every Tuesday. Do me a favor, please subscribe so you don't miss anything and share this with a friend so you don't miss that next conversation. I'm really excited to go on this journey with you, and this is just the start. I can't wait to unlock more stories and insights with you. Till next time.